We have NBA All-Star Snubs every season, but this year is bad. Plus, there is a conspiracy that not enough people are talking about that could ruin the All-Star game. I will get to the conspiracy, but there are only 4 snubs this year. NBA players were pissed on social media. Trey Lyles said De'Aaron Fox got robbed. Fred VanVleet defended his boy Pascal Siakam. Mikal Bridges upset about Jalen Brunson. Embiid backed James Harden. But there's one thing, NBA players, I have learned from doing all these All-Star videos. You have to also say who you're gonna replace. That means that there are 4 All-Stars who shouldn't be in. A lot of players have changed my mind since posting my All-Star video. But first, today's sponsor is PrizePicks. I play PrizePicks just to make watching NBA games more fun. It's the only reason that I play, because it works. It's like daily fantasy, except you don't play other people, it's you against the projections available. So for me, I look at games that I'm already gonna watch that I want to be even more fun, and then I try to pick who I think is gonna do best. For me, what works best is fantasy points, because I already know NBA fantasy, and anything that they do, assists, rebound, score points, of course it counts. So I wanna show you my picks for today. First up is Domantas Sabonis against his old team, the Indiana Pacers. Then LaMelo Ball against the Detroit Pistons, who have an awful defense and will put up a bunch of points. And I'm going more and more because, again, it's all about having fun. Let me know if you took those picks. Hopefully they hit. You can play PrizePicks in a ton of states like California, Florida, or Texas. If you're just now signing up, use promo code AMHOOPS. They will give you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. So the first snub is De'Aaron Fox. The Kings are the number 3 team in the West. 2 games out of number 2. They deserve 2 All-Stars. The guy he replaces is Paul George. Now, I had PG as an All-Star, but since then, the Kings have been undeniable. Just compare De'Aaron Fox and PG's stats. They are very similar, but De'Aaron Fox is better at everything offensively, and he's played 10 more games. I get that Paul George is better defensively, but that goes out the window when you have like Steph and Luka as starters. The coaches pick the bench players. This is an obvious example of PG being a more well-respected vet than De'Aaron Fox, when in reality, Fox and his team are having a better season, and De'Aaron Fox got robbed. My next snub is James Harden. I cannot even believe I'm saying that. Didn't have him as an All-Star a month ago, but he is the #1 reason Philly is a game back of second place. Joel Embiid is obviously the best player on the Sixers, but Harden has kept them winning when Embiid's been injured and when he's on the bench. The guy Harden replaces is Drew Holiday, and I love Drew, but the coaches picked him because they feel bad for him and they hate Harden. Drew hasn't made an All-Star since he was in Philly in 2013. That just feels wrong. It's kind of like when an actor or a musician wins an award when they're kind of washed up, because before they were underrated, like that's when they did their best work, but the award people know they messed up, so they gotta give them something. Last year, for example, would have been great. Just came off a championship, about the same numbers, more efficient than this year, but this season they were like, okay, we've gotta put him in, right? Harden, though, is much better offensively. The only other guy averaging 20, 10, and 5 with his efficiency is Nikola Jokic. I take Holiday for the playoffs, but I would take Harden for the All-Star game. The next snub is Pascal Siakam. I mean, they're putting people in from crappy teams anyway, like DeMar DeRozan. Why not Pascal? And yes, he is replacing DeMar on this list. Outside of efficiency, this is Pascal's best season. A career-high 25 points a game, 8 boards, 6 assists, defending 1 through 5. I know the team isn't good, but Fred VanVleet and Scotty Barnes went through a rough patch, so Pascal had to carry them. His playmaking is at a career high as well, and CBS has an insane stat. Only 7 players have averaged 24 points, 8 assists, and 6 boards, shooting 47%. Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, Luka, Jokic, and Siakam if he keeps this up. How is that not an All-Star? Meanwhile, DeRozan is not the clutch player he was last year, not elite defensively. He's a great player, but last year they were in first place, so he was an All-Star starter. This year, if you're gonna put in a bad team player, it's gotta be Pascal. Next, Jalen Brunson, and I picked him over his teammate, Julius Randle. They picked the wrong Nick. Brunson does more for the team than Randle. He playmakes, he scores efficiently, he's a calming presence in crunch time, and this isn't a knock on Randle, who's been really good. It isn't even about stats, but when you watch the Knicks, they got a great player in Brunson. I mean, he was amazing paired with Luka, even in the playoffs last year, but he deserved his own team. But if you do want a great stat, only 2 players score at least 22 points with 6 assists, 39% from downtown, Steph Curry and Jalen Brunson. Now look, it is a cool story for Julius Randle. Not only does he get a $1.2 million bonus in his contract for being an All-Star, but he makes it back after taking a step back last year. I just think if you're gonna pick a New York Knick, it should be Jalen Brunson. So that means I agree that Anthony Davis, Trae Young, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, and Darius Garland are true snubs who don't deserve to get in. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. is a surprise to a lot of people, but he is by far the best defender in the NBA, and Memphis is the #2 team in the West. But the guy that I actually feel worst about is not Anthony Davis or Jimmy Butler or Devin Booker. It's Darius Garland. He has elite numbers just like last year when he was an All-Star, but the big difference? Obviously, Donovan Mitchell. Dude just swooped into Garland's team and took his place as their best player, but you don't hear a word about it from Garland. Dude's not complaining. He is all about winning, and it reminds me of Steph Curry's leadership when he was happy to have Kevin Durant as long as it meant winning a chip. If the Cavs were in second place like the Memphis Grizzlies, they would have 2 All-Stars. But the conspiracy that would ruin All-Star weekend for me, Chris Vernon brought this up and it is scary. So the NBA All-Star draft is changing. Before, we had 2 captains pick their teams 10 days before the game on Zoom on TV. And it's always fun, gives us great moments like Giannis refusing to pick his enemy James Harden.
I'm between Kemba and Trae Young.
Wait, you don't want the dribbler?
I want somebody that's gonna pass the ball. That's what I want.
But this year, they are doing it on the court right before the game, like pickup basketball style, but with NBA players. That is such a great idea. We're gonna get to see the face of the guy who was picked last, or I can just see dudes who have already been picked, like in Giannis or LeBron's ear, like pointing at who they should pick. It's such a good idea, but there's one huge problem. How do they know what jerseys to play in? Jerseys have already come out for the All-Star game. Are they just gonna have both ready and throw one away? What about in the arena? How are they gonna know which jerseys to sell? Is the NBA really gonna miss out on all those jersey sales just so they can have a draft? No. So that would mean that this is all fake and they're gonna pick the teams a few days before the actual game and fake the draft. That would be so lame and stupid if they do that. It will ruin this awesome idea, and they should just go back to how it used to be because that was awesome. But if they already have these jerseys for sale in the arena, then we know it was fake, and LeBron, Giannis, and the NBA are in this conspiracy together. But speaking of a conspiracy, a guy on Reddit put a post up that caused such a big mess that the NBA commissioner had an emergency meeting about this guy's post 24 hours after in New York. What the guy said on Reddit basically is that the NBA is rigged, and he came with all sorts of proof. But what people found out while investigating that guy's Reddit post is mind-blowing. Check it out.